Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Dent. We all have so many questions. I mean, around mindset and what your drive is, what motivates you to go and do things like that. But what I want to ask you first is, how did it feel to watch that back with everyone here?
Yeah, it's kind of, I've definitely healed. It was
physically,
it's healed scarily well. But yeah, there's. I mean, I'm not going to say it, but it's a bit of a cliche saying there's unfinished business. But it's a hard watch. Some of it, it's quite emotional. I think what is very hard to bring to life is the amount of time that you're out there on your feet and away from your family, and that element of it is sort of hard to put in quite a sort of uplifting, motivating film that. 16 hours a day, and your wife and children are wondering where you are. And I'm not on holiday. It's not a holiday.
So it's a big sacrifice, as you're describing. What makes you keep running? After that experience and the fact that you've done 2 ultras since, and you're talking to me about you've got 50k in Feb and you've got something else planned for later on in the summer, why keep going? Because you haven't found your limit, as you said?
Yeah, I think it's the older I've got. I mean, I've become just quite interested in exploring what the body's possible, what we can all do. I think I've been quite lucky, I think, that I've got into fitness quite late in life. So there's no sort of real historical injuries or, I'm quite slight, and obviously some people have bad knees, bad ankles. I didn't really play or, high standard sport or run much, so my body's in quite good nick, so I'm enjoying pushing it. I think, as I said in that video, I did get quite close to a limit, I think, but then, I mean, maybe we'll come onto it. I think I've worked out why. I got bad legs, so that won't happen again. But yeah, I'm enjoying pushing my limits, but at the same time, I'm very aware that I'm 50 this year and got to be a bit careful.
And what events have you got coming up that represent that caution that you're describing?
Well, I've got a 50k in a couple of weeks with John sat at the back, and then funny enough, I've got an 80k with Rob sat at the back. I mean, firstly, before I say any more, I just want to give a big shout out actually to James and Rob, who James very kindly gave up 2 weeks of his life to come and be my crew chief. Never again. We haven't spoken since. And I should add that Rob ran 3 ultras in 3 days, and he hadn't run a marathon. Also, a big shout out to Tim, who also joined us for a day. But I mean, especially just for James, who, it's I can be quite demanding, and I have a real early morning habit. You're not a morning person, are you, James? Yeah, so yeah, he was the absolute star, and it absolutely wouldn't have happened without him.
Well done, guys. Thank you so much. So we saw you go through a range of emotions in the film. You could see the apprehension. I don't know whether that was nerves before the actual event, when the guy was speaking who said he'd done it previously as well. Obviously, when you were giving your post-run analysis each day as well, there's very much a feeling of you trying to keep the emotions in check, but you must have been feeling so much, because when you run that much, you said you experienced the flow state at one point. Where did the emotions actually take you during that experience?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's something I didn't mention on camera, and I've only mentioned to a few people because I didn't really know how to frame it or talk about it. But on the actual flight over, I had my first ever panic attack, and that was bit of an eye-opener. So I hadn't been nervous at all. I was confident that I'd done the work, the training, and we had a bit of a strategy around coming off caffeine for 2 weeks. So then when we were actually out there, we could really weaponize it basically as a performance enhancer in the mornings. And basically, before I got on the second flight from Dubai to Brisbane, I had a coffee, and fuck me. basically got on an airplane. I mean, I've flown all my life, never had an issue, and was sat on the plane and started getting palpitations, started sweating, started getting really dizzy, and basically was getting claustrophobia as everyone was getting on the plane. And so I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And so I literally was Googling how, and I grabbed a steward, he's like, there's nothing you can do. If you're having a panic attack, you need to get off the plane. And obviously the timings were so tight. So I was like, fuck, I've got to white knuckle this. Or they call it raw dogging, don't they, these days? I fucking raw dogged it, yeah. I didn't raw dog it. I was watching YouTube videos about how to fucking stay alive. And so it was, yeah, that was quite hairy. And so when I got, that lasted about 3 hours on the plane of just trying not to open the fire exit on the plane.
And did that experience set you back?
I think so, probably, yeah.
But in terms of your preparations, in terms of mentally how you approached day
what
one?
it actually did was, when I got to Australia, I was just so excited about running because there'd been so much talk. Obviously, you'd seen Sky Sports been very kind and had me on. It just became this big thing. And I think that obviously you're trying to shine a light on the charity and people are really, it's great that people are showing interest, but then suddenly you're like, fuck. This is just a run and it's getting a bit out of hand here. I mean, that's probably my own fault. But yeah, sort of, I got to Brisbane and we had, I think, 2 or 3 days, maybe 2 days, 3 days. And I was just so excited running because I just felt that the moment, as you saw me leaving the Suncorp Stadium, it was just me on me. Whereas until that moment, it was just like managing quite a lot of stuff.
What would you say you took from the experience that will help you moving forwards with any event that you try and pull off?
I think, and it's one of the things, obviously, this isn't just about running. Obviously, for me, the way I try and do it is through running, but just raising the bar and sort of setting goals that's really lofty. There's a brilliant quote I read when I was out there, which was, if you shoot for the moon, you'll land amongst the stars. And I really believe that my perception now of where the bar is, I do believe if I hadn't had the injury, I would have got through to 1,000 kilometres. I felt fine, my head was fine, I was in the game. I just had a bone with a break in it, and so I just had to stop. So, I feel that I came back thinking that anything you want to do in life, just set the goal really high and whatever people say, because obviously, who am I to try and run 1,000 kilometres? I've been running for sort of 10 years, and as I said, 20 years ago, I was in bars like this, messing about in Soho. I'd never thought I'd been here. So, I think the lesson I've took, and I hope people watching this will take, is that you're never too old to change your habits, to point yourself in a new direction, to set the bar and just fucking get on with it.
Yeah. So there's obviously a lot of people that you'd probably like to thank. You've mentioned the guys there. Is there anybody else that you wanna thank?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, firstly, as I said, all of you guys coming down, showing interest. Everyone in this room I know has donated back then and was incredibly generous. Obviously, my family, who've just been so tolerant of this hobby, they've been amazing. But yeah, the sponsors, I mean, stuff like this, it was just being able to get out there, and Rachel Adams from the charities, and obviously Lawrence, just create an environment around me that enabled me to do this. Obviously Andrew Nixon here from Sheridan's and other sponsors who are here, these things can't happen because there is, I did put my own personal money in to get myself out there, but this sort of stuff does cost people's time and money. So yeah, a lot of people.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to ask a question to Simon?
Do you see any mental animals?
Oh, that's a good question. What was quite interesting on day one, we quickly realised that, like in England, when you're out trail running, you don't mind if there's a bush and you go for a wee in the bush and it's fine. But out there, the bushes move, everything moves and everything has eyes. And so when you're going out at 4 or 5 a.m. and you're looking in a bush and there's all these different coloured eyes looking back at you and the bush is shaking, you kind of, there's a lot of that happening. There's also, you can't just sit down on the side of the road in the grass because some fucking thing will bite you. And in fact, on day 3, I had some sort of, I trod on a poisonous plant, and I mean, thankfully I spared you from the images, but that was horrific. My foot blistered up completely. But we didn't really see, Rob and I, we saw a few kangaroos, didn't see a koala. Did anyone see a koala? No, we didn't see koalas. Didn't really see any snakes, but no, nothing too crazy. But the lesson is just stay away from the bushes in Australia.
It's hard to get a sense of the heat, obviously, watching what we just watched, but what was that like?
Well, funny enough, I'd forgotten because the last 3 days were torrential rain. So, and those who watched the rugby would have seen the third test in Sydney was delayed, wasn't it? Yeah, delayed the kickoff. But it was torrential. It was we did have every type of weather. And it's funny, isn't it? You kind of, when you're in the heat, you wish it was cool. When it's pouring with rain, you wish it was hot. So, yeah, it's a pretty fucked up country, Australia, for that sort of stuff.
Anyone else?
What was it about the lights in the Sky Studio that took 10 years off you then to? What's going on?
It was a haircut. It was a makeup, actually. They put makeup on me.
I thought he looked like Ade Edmondson, weirdly.
It was the makeup.
You know me, mate. I love my sport, but I've never done anything endurance in my life. And I've signed up this year to cycling. The sunset in the day. You've got to run 300k from one coast to the other while the sun goes up over the course of the day.
Oh, wow, cool.
Chasing the sun. And I've ridden about 10 miles in 10 years on a bike.
Right.
So any advice when I'm in the hurt locker and I'm at my limit and I'm thinking, what the actual fuck have I signed up to? Any advice?
How long is that going to take? Or how long do you think it'll take?
You start at sunrise at 4 in the morning.
So it's in the summer?
Sunset, yeah. It's on the summer solstice.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm terrified.
I mean, cycling is totally different. Like, cycling looks really painful to me.
That would be so much more sensible.
Is it though?
To get on a
But I mean,
bike.
you're a cyclist. I mean, there's a few cyclists
You
in
don't
here.
get injured on a bike unless you come off.
Yeah, it just looks painful sat on a bike. But yeah, it's difficult to say. I think the only thing I would say is just do shitloads of training. I mean, I wouldn't advise not training for that. It sounds like quite a nice.
Genuinely, and this is not, I know we're all friends with Simon, it has been partially inspired by people like you, mate. Like, I would never have thought I'd even entertain doing something like that. And your whole thing about raising the bar and pushing yourself, I'm 50 soon, and just accepting, like, it's going to hurt, but you're alive and you're doing something cool and you're pushing yourself with your friends. It genuinely is stuff that you do that raises me to think I can do it as well.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that.
Also, I think what you were asking is about mentally, when it hurts, where do you go? What's your coping mechanism for that?
Gratitude. As I said, when I was crossing that bridge in Grafton and I was, day 5, and I knew something wasn't right, and I knew my quad wasn't right. I was starting to get ankle pains, and actually, it's very easy to go straight to catastrophization and that sort of that feeling, that emotion. But I think if you can get a grip of and it's all to do with cognitive behavioural therapy, a lot of it, and that's something I've done in my past, but being able to control your reaction to a situation you're in. And I think that using gratitude, like, I'm in Australia, it's sunny, wow, like, this is a fucking privilege, like, being able to do this. And I think that is, I mean, what you're doing sounds amazing, because that is an absolute privilege, right? To be able to do that. Like, we're in a 0.0001% of luckiest people in the world. Like, that is something to harness.
I also wonder whether there's something that you enjoy about the pain in a strange way, would you say?
Maybe. I mean, people say that. I mean, it's funny. What do you think, John? John's like a serious ultra runner. That's at the back. What's your relationship with pain?
I think it's well, we type 2 times that it's fun to tell stories.
Yeah, it's type 2 fun. Yeah, I wouldn't say the extreme pain. So the extreme pain, obviously, of the stress fracture on my ankle, but I think just the ability and the fascination of doing hard things, I think, basically has made my life a lot easier. There's a saying kicking around at the moment, isn't there? Hard things, easy life; easy things, hard life. And I think by choosing to do hard things on a daily, weekly basis, suddenly life is going to fucking throw hard things at you, no doubt. And when they do, guess what? You've prepped your body and mind for them. So they tend to be a little bit easier to manage.
It reminds me of that day you made me run an ultra.
There
and
we go.
I really hadn't trained for it.
Nobody's safe.
No, but you are quite inspiring, strangely. But it was almost like
Fully.
it was at that point in time. It was a pain that I controlled, and that was why it was good. But yeah, you do suck your friends into some really interesting things. Anybody else? Yes.
In terms of recovery from the fracture, and then you said that you've been back running again since. What's that recovery journey?
Oh, that's a great question, because at this point I need to thank AG1. No, but it's really interesting because I was told at the hospital in Australia was amazing. Wow. I mean, it was so good. They were so great. But they were, there was a bit of, you might not be able to run for, 6 months. And obviously that's when I was a bit like, fuck, like, this is bad. And they said if you'd carried on, you might not be able to run at all ever again. So, but as for the recovery, obviously I got to Sydney and the immediate recovery protocol wasn't very good because we hooked up with the Lions Legends and had 3 days drinking Guinness, which I was told has good iron for your bones. So that sort of was the initial recovery. But
is that why there was a gap? I did wonder. I was like, it took him 3 days to come to terms with a disappointment, and that's why he's only just doing.
I actually discovered
summary.
Guinness. I've never really drunk Guinness before. Fuck, it's great. But no, to be serious, there was a lot of, because obviously it's their winter, so there was a lot of going in the sea and the ice. There was a bit of nervousness. I did fly back after 3 days, and the doctor had said going at altitude for that long might be an issue, but actually I think it was okay. And then when I got back, obviously all the people in who train, you're sort of like starting to get itchy feet, you're like, oh shit, I need to do something. But actually I was pretty disciplined. But I have to say that I was doing walking in a pool, I was doing sauna, I was doing ice bath, and they are a sponsor. It's a brilliant brand, but I was double dosing on AG1, and actually I stopped all my other vitamins and supplements, and the amount of goodness in those things. Within 6 weeks, I was running again, and I'd been to see the hospital local to me, and I don't want to name them, but they just weren't very cooperative and very good. So actually I ended up paying privately to speak to someone, and to be fair, they were like, look, you probably should wait till Christmas to run. And I just did my own thing. I was stretching, massaging, kept doing the ice bath religiously 3 times a day, compression, and I was running again 6 weeks, and then did my first ultra again on the 6th of October, so 12 weeks after, and had no issues.
Human miracle.
Which is dangerous, right? Because I'm not dangerous, but it got me thinking about what else I could do.
Yes, sir.
Simon, congratulations.
Thanks, George.
You've always been very single-minded. It was nightclubs and stuff related to that. Now it's running.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll wake up one morning and running will be done, and you'll be single-minded about something new? And if so, any idea what?
I have thought that, but it's been. I think there's so many facets to running, and I think the benefits that running has, and it sort of feeds into and overspills into other aspects of my life. It's not something I'd want to stop. I think the more that I run, the better my life's got, and I found my thing, and I think it's quite handy that it's not that bad for you. But no, I said to you earlier, Jeff, didn't I? Like, as long as I enjoy it and keep enjoying it, I'll keep doing it.
Yep. That's fair enough. Yes, sir.
Have you got any more bucket list challenges?
Stop recording, Danny. Don't want Mrs. Dent to see this. So I actually got entered the ballot for UTMB this year. So for those that don't know, UTMB is, I think it's probably regarded as the the World Cup final of ultra running. So it's a 100-mile plus ultra around Mont Blanc that happens in August, and basically you're in a sort of league system. I got enough points to enter that, so I found out on Thursday if I've got to play. So that will be a pretty crazy thing if I get into that. Might slightly change plans for the year, but yeah, I think there's obviously I got halfway. It's not lost on me. There's Rugby World Cup in Australia next year. What are you saying? Let's go.
Return ticket.
No, I don't know. I think that, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. But I think UTMB is enough for this year.
Anybody else?
What was your go-to song podcast when you were struggling?
What a great question. Yeah, wow. So I had loads of playlists made. Loads of friends made playlists, family made playlists. My son even made a playlist. So
Do you come from a land down under?
yeah, there was a bit. That was pretty exhausted by sort of day one. And the Australians don't think that's banter. They're just like, fuck off. And so it's funny you say that. Actually, it's as we all know, music's really emotional, and at some points that it doesn't help. There was different sort of playlists for uplifting music, relaxing music, but as I sort of said, because the rough plan was to be on our feet 14 hours a day, you just can't stay in that intensity zone a lot. Like, I'm a bit of a podcast fiend, but there's only so many podcasts you can do as well. So I think with music, in answer to your question, I weirdly, and I don't know why, but 90s indie really resonated. And that's quite a nice sort of music to sing along to. Because obviously in the middle of nowhere, so you are singing as well.
Give us an example.
Well, as I said, Ocean Colour Scene, They Are Caught the Train. I mean, that track was just... it's funny, I don't know if anyone's ever reached flow state before, when they know what flow state is, but it's something I've probably, whilst running, maybe a handful of times. 2 of them I really remember, but it's when you basically reach a state that you completely lose track of all time. Like, there was the rainforest I was in, and I don't know whether the track induced it or the track came along after I'd induced myself, my body had induced myself, but I lost about 3 hours, and I just suddenly was like, fuck, where have I been? And you're just high as a kite. I was crying, and I just voice messaging my wife. Oh, she's like, fucking, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm fine, I love you, this is amazing. And the Ocean Colour Scene was the track that was just on repeat. So
For 3 hours.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I highly encourage trying to get to flow state.
Have you listened to it since, and what effect does it have on you?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, because it will be an anchor for that moment. So
yeah, maybe.
You start crying.
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe.
Get it on. No, let's not put it on. I don't know.
Did we have another question down here?
I was just going to ask, you mentioned you figured out possibly what went wrong.
Oh, good question. So, I mean, yeah, we'll wrap up quickly. So, yeah, but basically, I'd never really had a running coach before. Sorry, this is not about to blame my running coach. Cut those. But I'm not blaming you, Joe. Basically, I had a coach, brilliant coach, and it was an Australian who actually has the fastest known time from Brisbane to Sydney. So was the guy to coach me to do this. So I found him online. He coached me, brilliant. And there was 3 days before I was set to fly. There was hill sprints in my training plan. And I looked at it and was like, well, this is a bit fucking weird. I'm about to run 1,000k, but just before I leave, there's some hill sprints. I was like, okay, I'll do them. And I did them. And guess fucking what? I hurt my right adductor. And basically, I hadn't fired up my quads before. I got hit out the back of the house. And so when I boarded the plane, and as I mentioned that physio, I arrived in Australia with a very sore abductor muscle. So got a good massage, set off. On day one, it took 3 hours to warm up. So I didn't want to make a big deal of it, but I was like, fuck, from the first few steps, I was quite sore. Anyway, I sort of run it off, I think, or thought. And then that day 5 when I got into Grafton, I was in absolute agony here. And so what I think had been happening was that I was really overcompensating on my left leg. For 5 days, actually, my left leg had been carrying my right leg. And so I was sort of aware of it, but obviously the compounding impact over, 12 hours a day, 5 days, it's going to put a lot of pressure on your left shin. And so I think basically that's what's happened. And yeah, I should have warmed up before a hill sprint properly. I do that now when I do hill sprints. But yeah, when you sort of piece it back together, I think that if I didn't have the adductor, I wouldn't have been putting so much pressure on my left shin, and I might have been fucking attacked by a kangaroo. Something else would have happened. So, but I do think that's probably, because I've never had a left shin issue before. I'm such a slight person. It's not like stress fractures. Usually people are a bit bigger.
Was you halfway through your challenge, or was you a little bit further than that when you had to stop?
Pretty much exactly half. I finished on 483 kilometres, and the 500 mark was halfway. So yeah, almost halfway.
It's an amazing achievement. Is there any last questions?
Yeah. Just wondering around like the sleep situation. One of the segments you mentioned having some good sleep, and like dreams. Do you dream?
That's a good question. This is. It's funny actually. We were quite spoiled with regards to food and accommodation. There's a couple of people in this room, Neil, John, who I've done events with before where you've had to camp. Well, actually, John and James as well, where you're doing multi-days but camping in a yurt in a desert or in a tent in wet Wales. And so we were in hotel beds, and we were also, because we were starting so early, we were finishing at sort of 4 or 5 p.m. so we can actually eat proper meals and then go to a proper bed. So that was a bit of a luxury. But sleeping, unsurprisingly, was quite fine. I was pretty tired most nights. You've got to be a bit careful though, because obviously you are managing quite a lot of caffeine. And the key is not having caffeine after lunchtime. Just load up on caffeine between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m, but don't have any more, because obviously the last thing you want to be doing is lying in bed, not being able to sleep when you're tired. But the mornings were quite hard. I'm a morning person. But yeah, by whatever that day was, day 4 and 5, the sort of 4 a.m. alarm clock, 'cause it's really cold there. Like it's their winter, so it's as cold as an English autumn in the morning. Yeah, quite cold in the morning. But no, we slept well, I think. I think it's fair to say.
All right, Simon, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon
Thank
Den.
you, everyone, so much for coming. Thank you, Jeff.